What's good, y'all? What's up? It's your girl, Christina Lynn, your favorite Philly girl. You already know, Confessions of a Philly Girl. So, again, I want to apologize for being late. I know I'm like 30 minutes late. I really apologize. I'm trying to get my life together. I haven't been feeling well today. But I'm here. And I'm looking at like 4 different cameras, so bear with me, y'all. I'm kind of trying to get my little swag or whatever. So what's up, y'all? Confessions of a Philly Girl. What's good? How was your week? My week was, I can't complain. Today was pretty rough. Today in business was actually pretty rough. But like I said, I'm here. I survived the little issues or whatever. You know how they go. So tonight's show is about toxicity and parenting. And I just want to throw out a disclaimer real fast because I already know I might catch some flake for this show. In no shape or form am I bashing my parents. I love my parents, both of them, mother and father, very much. I think that they are 2 people that kind of, they did their best. Thank you. They did their best, and so I'm not judging. This is my truth. So I'm not getting up here trying to make nobody feel bad. None of that. It's not even why I do this. I do this because 1, it's actually therapeutic. 2, these are topics that I, in my opinion, feel like needs to be talked about more, and they're not. A lot of these shows that I feel like that are online and have a way, way bigger platform than I have should address these issues, but they don't. And again, I'm not knocking nobody, but I just want everyone to know, like, I'm not up here trying to hurt nobody's feelings, make nobody feel bad, want a pity party. This is just an issue that I feel like should be talked about, and so I've decided to talk about it. Just want to throw it out there too. Confessions of a Philly Girl is also on Mixlr. It's on the Anchor app. So is WCMD Radio on the Anchor app. I don't really know how many of my shows actually go up there from WCMD, but I'm actually working on creating my own platform with Anchor. So look out for that. And you already know my show is here on Facebook. And I also put my shows up on YouTube. They're already pre-recorded, of course. But I'm live on Mixlr and I'm live on Facebook, as you already know. So, and I also put my shows up on IGTV from time to time. So I just want to put it out there. So again, Christina Lynn, Confessions of a Philly Girl. I know I'm not really that upbeat today, and I'm sorry again, y'all. I really don't feel well, but I'm here, late and all. So tonight's show was actually inspired by Black China and her mom, Tokyo Tony. And the reason being is that Black China now has a show. It's on the Zeus Network, I believe. I think you have to like download and subscribe to it. But it's on the Zeus Network. And they put up the clips of the show to promote it. And so I came across a clip, I think it was on somebody else's page. I think her name is Berry Curly. So I got the video off of her page and I put it on my Facebook. And it basically was a clip of Tokyo Tony and Black China communicating. And her mom, you could like see like the hate and the jealousy that her mom has for her. And I don't know if the backstory that I heard was actually accurate or not. But the backstory that I had gotten was that, like, mom used to kind of be where China is. Not, of course, not her celebrity, but she used to be a dancer or whatever. She got pregnant on a one-night stand, and then she had China or whatever. And now she's, like, the bitter mom. And from what it looks like, it's like she make it seem like Black China owes her something. Like, in my opinion, I don't feel like my children owe me anything. Like, they just don't. Like, they didn't ask to be here. They're here. And so as a mom, it's my responsibility to make sure that I take care of them and love them and nurture them and cultivate them into being like really good human beings. I guess the toxicity for me is how she just go about how she deal with her daughter. You know what I'm saying? And you'll never really see her big up her. Like, she's always just like mad, angry, tearing her down, telling her what she don't do for her, stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong. If you get on and you at a point in your life where you actually got money and, you know what I'm saying, and you can actually take care of your family, then I think you should do that. Like, by all means, like, definitely take care of your family. But at the same time, just because you are on, especially like children who still have their parents, you're not obligated to take care of your parents. You know what I'm saying? I think that if you do, then that just shows what type of person you are. That speaks to your character, right? But I don't think that parents should feel like you owe them something. Me personally, as a mother, have I been toxic as a parent? Yes. I'm not going to sit here and hold you. And there have been times where I felt like I owed my children an apology. And I ain't never have a problem with apologizing to my kids. Because I feel like as someone's child, even though I'm grown, as someone's child, I know for a fact that my parents made a bunch of mistakes. And when I've called both of them out on their mistakes, neither one of them were willing to apologize. And I know my mom, she be in my lives or whatever, and so that's why I threw that disclaimer out, because I don't want her or anyone to feel like I'm throwing stones at her or I'm bashing her, because that's not what this is. This is just me telling my story, and I should be allowed to speak my truth. You know, some people may agree with it, some may not. That's fine, but as long as I do it in a respectable manner, you can't be mad at me. And if you are, that's fine too. Like, I don't really care. Y'all know I don't care. But I think that there have been plenty of opportunities that my mother or whatever could have come to me and was like, you know what, I'm sorry for what I did. You know what I mean? Acknowledging it. I don't even think that we're at a point of where she even acknowledges it. It's been plenty of times that I've been told to get over it. And that's fine. What's up, Mike? I think, yeah, I will get to a point of not getting over it, but getting over the hump. But I think a part of my closure is the fact that I really just need you to acknowledge that these things happen. Like, this stuff is not made up. And I could vividly remember being 16 and out here by myself. You know, my father, who's no longer here, always thought that money cured a lot of problems. And now that I'm older, I'm seeing that they don't, because getting to the paper is easy, right? But once you got it, do it really cure whatever hurt and pain that you're going through? No. Can money bring back people that are no longer here? No. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that money is always the answer. And 99% of the time it's not, unless you're trying to pay a bill. It is the hardest to get over. And I think that when people lack the empathy or whatever that you're really looking for and that you really need in order to get over it or get over the hump, I think it's extremely selfish for people to have that notion that it's just easy to get over something. I mean, I've been through some real life stuff, you know what I mean, as a teenager. And I remember a time where there was no one to help me. My mother, she texted me not a while ago, but like maybe a couple weeks ago, and was like, when I had shared about my experience when I was 12 with a grown man. And she was like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, tell you what? And she was like, why didn't you tell me what happened to you? And I'm like, you had your own stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you going through whatever you was going through, you ain't have no space for me. You know what I'm saying? There was no safety net for me at that time. And so I had to learn to adjust. And as time went on and I got older, I learned to adjust. And when And when she wanted to step in and be a parent or whatever, it was kind of already too late. Like, I had already jumped off the porch, off the steps, and just found my own way. Now, am I saying that that way was right? No, it's not. Because now I'm striving and fighting hard to assist my daughter in avoiding those steps that I've taken, and always letting her know I'm here. But I also let her know that I don't always agree with what she's doing and how she's going about things. Now, where the toxicity for me comes in at is my delivery. I'm real raw and I'm very explicit. And so I don't really know how to talk like this and don't do that, and I don't think that's a good idea. I don't talk like that. I'm like, yo, what you doing is wrong, and you need to fall back, and you drawling, you playing yourself. And I give her examples of what I'm talking about, and I've also shared my own story with my kids. You feel what I'm saying? Because I feel like it's important that they know who their mother is. And yeah, it is important that you shelter your children to a certain extent from what the world has to offer, and it being a cruel world. I agree with that. But I also agree that it's important that you tell them the truth. And then also having a mom who never really experienced a lot of the stuff that I've experienced growing up, from like trying weed and smoking weed and, you know what I'm saying, dealing with guys and this and that and this and that. And, you dealing with a parent who you feel like always did everything right. It's like she can't relate. Like, even now, her being 71 and me being 36, we're two different people. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we've been two different people. We've been two different people from day one. You know what I mean? So I think that it's important that we always make sure that we acknowledging not only our truth, but we acknowledge our stuff, like our ish. Like, that's important. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't sit here and make it seem like you're just this perfect person and nothing that you do as a parent is bad or terrible. That's not true. It could be anything from you knowing that being with this guy is just not a good idea. Yeah, you love him. He make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? You love him being around, but him being around is not always healthy for your kids. So sometimes you are going to have to set aside your personal feelings or whatever, and you're going to have to say, you know what, this ain't working. Because I've done it. Listen, my last marriage, and I talk about my last relationship all the time with my husband, I still got love for him or whatever, because I always try to focus on the man he was, or the man that I married initially. And I try very, very hard not to be bitter and miserable about how he treated me towards the end of the relationship or whatever, or when things started getting bad between us. I really try not to focus on that. I really try to focus on how much of a good person he was before all of that. But I say all that to say that even during the marriage or whatever, there were instances where I had to tell my daughter, like, this is not normal. Or I had to tell my son, this isn't okay. This is not how you treat a woman. Telling my daughter, this isn't okay. This is not what you should accept from a man. This is not how a man should talk to you, right? And then a very big part of why I left him is because I was trying to shield my children and protect them and helping them understand that you staying in a relationship like this is not good. You know what I'm saying? You staying in a toxic relationship because you don't want to be by yourself or you don't want to be alone. It's just not always the answer, because you know why? These people grow up, and especially with my daughter, and not having a solid father figure, a male role model in her life. I have to always constantly go back and tell her that, first of all, your happiness is important, you're important, and don't let a man control your mind to the point that you're doing things that you know deep down inside aren't okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to always make sure that you're constantly reminding your children of their worth. I feel like it's unfortunate for me that I didn't learn my worth until very, very later on in life, but I'm really trying to teach them that now. And that goes from across the board. There's their relationship with me, their relationship with people outside of the home, their relationship with their fathers and stuff like that, whether it's existing or non-existent. It's always important that you reiterate these things to your kids, because it's a form of breaking a cycle. You can't break the cycle if you're constantly doing the same things that your parents did, that you know how you felt. Like, I always try to take that in consideration too. Like, my mom not being there for me throughout my toughest times, but being an adolescent or a teenager, it messes with me. And so now I try to be as present as possible for my kids, so that's a form of me breaking the cycle. Now, can I honestly say that, again, my delivery is always ideal? It's not. Like, I'm just going to keep it real with y'all. Like, I'm working on it. Like, my profanity and my aggressiveness and stuff like that. Like, sometimes my son be like, Mom, like, it's not that deep. And I be like, no, y'all make me mad. Like, y'all always doing something. I be trying to tell y'all don't listen. And now I'm learning that sometimes you do have to allow your kids to get some scrapes and bruises. But I don't want them scrapes and bruises to be the kind that don't go away. You know what I'm saying? That they don't learn from. And so I'm always constantly reiterating to them that it's important that you be there. It's important that you listen. You know, my daughter is going through a tough time right now. She's in a very crazy stage in her life. She's 12. And so right now, I'm like real hands-on with her, because I remember what I went through at 12, right? And so I've made it my mission in life right now to protect her and try to make sure that, you know, she don't make the same mistakes that I made at 12 years old. But she also don't feel alone. You know, I felt very alone at 12. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's people around, but in my opinion, my parents didn't create that comfort zone for me where I felt like I could share whatever I had going on. I just couldn't. Me and my father never even had the conversation about sex. He probably didn't even realize I was having sex until I popped up pregnant. You know what I'm saying? With my kids. So, and then the other part to it is that my mother was dealing with her own stuff. You know what I mean? She was dealing with her own issues. And so there were moments where she missed it. She missed what was going on. And even when she probably noticed that I probably was having sex, her whole way of dealing with it and finding a solution for it was to go put me on depo. You know what I'm saying? Like, things were happening right under her nose, and she didn't know it, because, again, as parents, we be so consumed with our own lives and with our own stuff that we don't really pay attention to our children. And is that a form of toxicity in parenting? Not necessarily. It could just be a form of self-centeredness, you know. And like I said before, and I know I'll probably never get this from my parents. Well, I know I'm not going to get it from my dad, because he did, but my mother has always made it clear to me, like, oh, you need to let the past go. But it's hard to let the past go when it is a very big depiction of who you are today. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to let whatever happened in the past be the past when like, you're a reflection of your past. Like, I'm a reflection of my childhood, or when I was growing up as an adolescent and a teenager. Like, right now at 36 years old, I'm still a reflection of that. And I'm still learning how to iron through that and get through that. And then it's unfortunate there are certain moments that occur right now in my life that are triggers for me of what happened to me when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? And so who's there to give you that hug? And sometimes I don't even want the hug. You know what I mean? And that's just the meanness in me, right? Because I feel like, you know, you should have been there and you should have known what was going on. Like, you just should have known. That's just my opinion. And I feel like a lot of times parents miss it because, again, we all caught up in other stuff. We all caught up in this man. We fighting our own demons. You know what I'm saying? We working this job and that job. We doing this and we doing that. And it's like, are we really taking time out for our kids? I try to make sure that at least once or twice a week or whatever, I take my kids out or whatever, and I put them in places where they're comfortable to talk to me. And I can honestly say, alhamdulillah, my daughter does come and talk to me. You know, she probably don't tell me everything, but she do tell me stuff enough where as though I could give her advice and give her insight about whatever it is that she's going through. You know what I'm saying? And I also make sure that her brother is, you know, a big brother to her, because she's not going to have that male role model that she needs in her life. At least she has her brother. You know what I'm saying? He's 3 years older than her, but he's 15. So the way he come to her and the way he handles her, I really appreciate. He don't even know it, but I really appreciate how he is with her, because she needs that. You know what I'm saying? Like, she needs that thoroughness coming from a male from a male's perspective. So y'all tuned in to Confessions of a Philly Girl. Again, y'all, I'm so sorry for being late. I'm gonna read some of y'all comments. I didn't miss them. I just been talking. So, alright, hold on. So I'm gonna read these comments from WCMD. I think the toxicity Black China, her mom comes from her mom being immature, and a very young parent who wasn't mentally developed enough to be a parent. Even now, it seems like she's competing with her and wants to live her life, if that makes sense. No, that makes perfect sense. And I also think that the other part to that is, what about the parents who are, you would say, of age, you would say, to have a child, who really don't know how to be a parent? Like, a lot of times our parents learn about being a parent from their parents. And so now that I'm getting older and I have an opportunity to see, to really see, I guess, so to speak, the parenting style of my grandmother, or, you know what I'm saying, or my grandfather, now I see why these people are the way they are. And so I ain't gonna get too deep into it, because I don't want nobody to feel like I'm overstepping my boundaries or I'm being disrespectful or whatever to my elders, because I'm not. But I don't deal with my family at all. I don't. It ain't no secret. I don't deal with them. I've created family out of my friends or whatever, and I borrow their family, you know. And so it's a lot of people that ain't my family that I consider my family. You know what I mean? I don't deal with my mom's family at all. I definitely don't deal with my father's family. Like, they don't even exist to me, except for my sister. She the only one that I love and I cherish or whatever. Shout outs to her. But other than that, I don't deal with them, because I be feeling like they come from a fake place. I remember a time where, you know, older people, like the elders in your family, was supposed to be like the matriarchs. They were supposed to be the ones who set the tone, and the children were supposed to follow their lead. But unfortunately, it ain't like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my family, it ain't nothing but a bunch of backbiting and foolery and people being made a mockery of. And so I've chosen to disconnect from them. But at the same time, when I look at their leadership, I can honestly say I see why y'all are the way y'all are, including my mother, because of the lack thereof, I could say, of the leadership. The past affects your present, because those are formidable years that shape you. Absolutely, so true. I've heard all ages say parenting comes with no instructions, and it doesn't. It doesn't come with any instructions. But I think that it's our responsibility for people who are becoming parents now, or who have been parents for a while. And I saw people comment earlier about how they may have not made the best decisions with their older children, but they're trying to break the cycle with their younger children, and they're also trying to take into consideration whatever they went through with their parents. And so that's what I'm doing now with my kids. Like I said, I ain't been the perfect parent. I made some awful mistakes with being a mom or whatever. Assalamu alaikum. What's up, bro? I've been, I made some awful mistakes in my life with my children, but now it's my responsibility to not repair the mistakes, but acknowledge them, for one, because I don't have a problem with it. Like, I'm definitely in the stages of reflection and looking in the mirror and being honest with myself or whatever, and being truthful with not only myself but with my children. But the other part to it is that actually, trying to change in some form or fashion, so that I could do better with raising them continuously. Because the last thing I want to do is raise my kids and then they be toxic parents to their children. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, well, how are they benefiting? Like where's the benefit factor in it of them not breaking a cycle? So you're tuned in, Confessions of a Philly Girl. Y'all know I'm going to hit the end soon because I was like super late and I'm so sorry. But I'm going to read the comments on my live. Oh, and shout out to Bling Babashi, who I actually purchased this hat off of. It is named after her son, who was murdered in Philadelphia almost a year ago, King Moo. So shout out to her, and if y'all ever get a chance, go over to her Instagram, Bling Babashi. She has some really nice pieces. Shout out to her. She's a doll. I agree. Say that you have the right to tell your truth. Yep, and I'm going to tell my truth, and I'm going to tell it according to my own experiences or whatever. And again, I just don't want to make, my mom feel bad or feel like I'm bashing her or I'm throwing stones, because that's not what this is. It's really just to address these issues, that there is a bunch of toxicity in the way we raising our kids. And if it wasn't, then trust and believe there wouldn't be any flash mobs out here right now. These kids are flash mobbers. It wouldn't be young girls out here throwing their babies in the trash. There wouldn't be these young boys out here killing each other, selling drugs, doing this, doing that. You know what I'm saying? So there is a lot of toxicity in parenting, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. You know what I mean? If we want to continue to make excuses for it. Because I could sit up here and say, oh, because my mom wasn't there for me when I really needed her to be, or because she was fighting her own demons and, she stopped paying attention to me at a certain point in my life. And there were times in my adulthood that I really needed her and she really wasn't there for me the way I needed her to be or whatever. I could really throw all of that out there, you know what I'm saying, and use that as an excuse as to why I'm an effed up parent. But I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm going to keep it a being and say, yeah, I went through these things. These things happen, whether she want to apologize for it or not, or acknowledge it or not. That's on her. That's between her and her Lord. But what I'm saying is that, one, my faith is what allows me to learn to forgive. And my faith is also what allows me to continue a relationship with her and allows me to try to be a better person. Am I a perfect person? No, I still have feelings. I'm still human. I'm not going to be 110% the way she want me to be, all warm and fuzzy. I'm just not. Like, life made me this way. And I'm not going to keep apologizing for being like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Now, at 36, am I learning to deal with it? Yes. Am I learning to repair myself? Absolutely. But trust and believe, I didn't get broken by myself. You know what I'm saying? There were a lot of people along the way who had a hand in me being broken. You feel me? There are a lot of people who from birth up into this point had a hand in trying to break me, trying to break my spirit, trying to hurt me, trying to confuse me and all of that. So I'm just a person who has all of that mixed up into Christina. So now at 36, I'm working on me alone. Ain't none of them people who had a hand in trying to break me or trying to confuse me or have some sort of confliction with my brain. None of them people are helping me get better. I'm doing it by myself. You feel me? And so, excuse me if I'm not all like that soft and warm and fuzzy person that people would like me to be. I'm just not. You know what I mean? Will I ever be? I don't know. Inshallah, that time will tell. At the same time, though, I make sure I pray. I make sure I make dua for myself. Not even just for myself, but for my children, for my mother. And I try to ensure that, that I'm always constantly staying prayed up, because that's what keep me sane. You feel me? The other part to it is that I just need people to stop judging me. You know what I'm saying? Like, people always judging me, and that's across the board. You know what I'm saying? People always want to make me feel like I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean? Just because my delivery may not be what they want my delivery to be. But the bottom line to it is that a lot of times what people fail to realize is that children are the victims. They're not the perpetrators. They grow up to become perpetrators, right? If they don't work on themselves. But truth be told, as kids, we're victims. You know what I mean? We're basically parents' test dummies. We're basically being tested constantly as dummies or whatever until you get it right. Some parents don't never get it right. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's for them to tell. But the bottom line to it is that people are so quick to throw darts at you because you're not the ideal person that they want you to be. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. What parents need to understand and accept, and this is what I'm learning, I'm accepting, is that our children are a reflection of us, of our good and wrongdoings. That's just it. That's just what it is. Now, if you don't agree with something that your child is doing, then maybe you need to go look in your Barney bag from the past and figure out what exactly did you do wrong or whatever to create this human being. You know what I mean? And that's, again, I mentioned this before about my ex-husband. That's how I look at him. Like, you know what? It ain't all your fault. Nope. Because you were raised by a woman who is clearly toxic. She brought toxicity in your life, and she continues to be toxic. And the two of y'all are just two toxic people together. The problem comes in it is that once you acknowledge that there is some toxicity, nobody is being proactive and trying to fix it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. That's where the issue comes in it. Nothing else. Not the fact that it happened. Not the fact that you acknowledged it. The fact of the matter is that once you acknowledge it, what's the next step? The next step gotta be, let me try to fix it. Let me do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I look at it. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not no guru. I'm not a therapist yet. Coming, inshallah. I'm not, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, nothing. No, I'm just somebody who has been going through this journey of life. I've been dealt a effed up hand or whatever, whether anybody in my life want to admit to it or not. And at the end of the day, I've been playing this hand, as best as I can. You know what I'm saying? Have I lost a lot of times? Hell yeah, more times than I can count. But at the same time, I feel like if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows me to wake up and be here another day and give me the opportunity to not only have my brain, my mind, to be sane, you know what I'm saying, then I'm going to continue to be proactive and not only getting my story out, but also in the process of healing. You know what I mean? Because not only is it important to me, but I know it's important. It is an important piece of my children becoming better people than I have ever been, that I can ever dream of, that I can ever think of. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. Me either, LOL. I talk to my kids as a mother, but I also speak as if I'm from the streets, but this is real life. Absolutely. And that I have gotten in the habit too. But I know that looking at my son and listening to him, he don't do nothing but respect it. You feel me? Like, he respect me on so many levels or whatever. Even when I tell him stories about my childhood, and he be like, "Dang, Mom, like, you really went through that? Like, you really survived that?" And I be like, "Yeah." Like, yeah, that's how I know, like, it ain't no good out here. And I'm clearly getting through to him. The girl is another story. Hey, y'all tuned in to Confessions of a Philly Girl, your favorite Philly girl, Christina Lynn. I'm reading some of these comments. Hey, girl, when you make the choice to break the cycle, you can objectively see why your parents are the way that they are and why certain beliefs were passed down to you. Absolutely. I feel you, because that's how I am now. Somebody come. Yes, I acknowledge. Yes, acknowledging is major. That's a level of truth most people don't get to. It's sad, but a lot. Ooh. It's sad, but a lot of us as parents nowadays learning how to raise our children based on what we didn't have. Love, affection, etc. Instead of saying my parents was everything, gave me everything, and that's what I want from mine. Yup, me too. Me too. But I think that the other part to it is what parents don't realize is that even though we're adults now, we're still your children. You know what I'm saying? Like, being a mom or being a dad, it don't stop. You know what I mean? Like, it's constant. We still need you to be present. And it's been times, like I said, as an adult, that I feel like I didn't really have my parents, and I really didn't have nobody to turn to. And in return, it's made me grow cold. Am I saying that it's okay to be that way? No. In no shape or form am I saying be completely, like, disconnected from the world and just be cold as ice. No. However, being this cold has allowed me to protect myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a form of me protecting myself. And that's across the board. That's from friends, girls, men, relationships, whatever. I work very hard on protecting myself. And now I'm working even harder in protecting my peace. You know what I'm saying? Because that stuff is important. And my whole thing is that it's important that we be realistic as well about the type of people that we are. Forget being a mom and a dad for a second. just look at yourself as an individual. Like me as just Christina. I'm not always that nice person. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we put on the loving and the caring and a nice head just to fulfill whatever needs our children are missing or lacking at that moment. But me, Christina, as a person, I'm hurting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been through some stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, it really started a long time ago when I feel like the adults in my life failed me. That's just my opinion. Again, I feel like we just have a moral obligation as not just parents, but just as adults in general to cultivate the youth. And I think that, yeah, there are moments where I can say that, oh, yeah, I definitely got some hugs and some kisses and some I love yous. I'm not disputing it. What I'm saying is that when it get real, like in your life, when it gets really real, what are you doing to handle that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what did you do as a parent to prepare me for some of the things that I came up against? Like, for instance, when I was 12 years old and that grown man took my virginity, like, I feel like somewhere along the lines, nobody taught me that. Nobody taught me that, listen, one day you going to come across some men and they going to want something from you. And they only going to want one thing. They ain't going to want to love you. They ain't going to want to be your best friend to the end. They going to want something from you. And when you give it to them, that's it. They going to leave you. Nobody told me about that. But for damn sure, I tell Darren, boys only want one thing. They want to be your friend because they trying to get close to something else. And once you give it to them, that's it. You ain't getting it back. They can't return it. You can't return the sender. You can't do none of that. Like, it's going. And I had those kind of conversations with her. Those kind of conversations are important. It's nothing wrong with being real with your kids. But nobody told me that. Nobody warned me. Nobody gave me no insight about how people really are in the world and that the world will eat you up and spit you out. Nobody told me nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody took the time out to really explain to me how this world really works. And again, that's something that I'm doing with my children because I feel like it's important. It's important that they understand how the world works and how cruel it can be. But again, I guess because nobody told me that or whatever, that I'm supposed to just figure it out on my own. And that's not really true. A lot of us been figuring it out on our own so much that we just keep hitting brick walls. And then I think that's where mental illness comes from. I think that's where addiction comes from. Alcoholism comes from. Suicide comes from. Because we be feeling a sense of emptiness. And nobody is trying to fill that void. And so now as an adult, unfortunately, you don't have the opportunity to have anybody shield you and shelter you and protect you from this cruel world. You got to do it all by yourself. All by yourself. And then can you honestly say that, damn, my parents prepared me for this? No. I can honestly say that they didn't. Nope. You're tuned in. Confessions of a Philly Girl, y'all. Tonight's topic is toxicity in parenting. If you're just coming on to the live, I'm going to read some comments from WCMD. Oh, yeah, I'm there too. Removing yourself is best because people are always trying to break you and hate when they can. Exactly. And that's very true. I think that for me, because a lot of times my strength is intimidating, a lot of people are like, oh, you so negative. Oh, you this, you all that. No, I'm a realist. Like, if being real is being negative, then okay, I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? But it's not very often that I trust people and I allow people to come in my space. So I feel like if you of good character and you know that you have good intentions, then we shouldn't have any issues. I feel like a lot of times I call people out on their stuff or I'm too real for them and then it instantly turns into me being negative. No, it's called me protecting myself from you. That's just what it is. Not dependable but needy. True. Where are those other commentators viewing this show from? Off of my page on Christina Lynn. What's this name? My problem is I overcompensate as a parent. Me too. I overcompensate as a parent because of the things I went through as a child. And sometimes they could just be as bad as being a bad parent because you're not demonstrating self-love, and sometimes they need that to really understand. So let's talk about that, because I'm also guilty of overly compensating for one, like I mentioned a while ago in my show, that I overly compensate with my daughter for her not having her father in her life. And then I started to overly compensate with my son because during my car accident, I missed time out of his life. And a lot of people on his other side of the family tried to paint me out to be a bad mother. And so how I tried to redeem myself from that whole situation, even though the car accident was completely out of my control, I overly compensated to make up for whatever time I missed, or for whatever bad things somebody had said about me or my parenting or whatever during that time. And so I definitely get the overly compensation. The other part to that is that you're right. Overly compensating is not a form of good parenting. It's just you basically saying, my bad, I'm sorry, I couldn't be there for you on this. Or in my case, my bad, I slipped up and had you know what with the wrong person, and the end result was you. Not saying that you're a mistake, but admitting that the person that I chose to have kids with was just not a good idea. And I've had that conversation because actually my daughter came to me when she was like maybe 4 or 5, and she asked me like, why do my dad gotta be my dad? And I explained to her that sometimes, adults make mistakes, and I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? You are not a mistake, but sometimes we make mistakes, and then in return, children come out of those situations, and some people just aren't ready to be a parent. You know what I'm saying? Me included. I was not ready to be a parent. But I think for me, when I had my son, it was just me looking for love in all the wrong places. And I can admit to that. With my daughter, it was a little different. I knew I was wrong, dead wrong. And when I got pregnant with her, I'm not going to lie to y'all, I contemplated having an abortion. I told you that before. And her dad begged, pleaded, all that, negotiated with me like, oh, just have her. I'm going to be the best dad in the world. I'm sorry, my glasses was hurting. I'm going to be the best dad in the world, this, and that, and the third. And we see how that turned out. You know what I'm saying? So after my 6 or 7 months of being pregnant with her, I already knew what I had gotten myself into. Now, to not discredit him entirely, he was actually a really good boyfriend, and he was a RA provider at some point. But once I decided that I didn't want to be with him no more, he chose to take the high road, and he went that way, and I went this way. Am I still mad at him? No. Am I bitter about it? No. Was I before? Hell yeah. But like I explained to her that, some adults, they just not ready. You know what I mean? They're just not. And sometimes what we got to do is we have to ask Allah to make them better. That's it. And keep it pushing. You know what I mean? We can't dwell on the what ifs or why nots and all of that. And always reminding her that she's not ever a mistake. Always reminding how awesome of a person she is, how decent she is, how cool she is, great she is, how beautiful a person she is, and kind-hearted and all of that. Like, I remind my kids all the time. I text them affirmations, consistently, so that they know that not only am I present, but I also love y'all, admire y'all, and appreciate y'all. Like, that's just something that I have decided to do for my kids because it's important. And even if I can't always be there for y'all physically, just know that I'm around. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I've also learned to do for my kids, is be there for them. Unfortunately, I never had the type of mom that went out and just like went hard for me. Like, I just didn't. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, it may not be in her personality. It may be something that she never learned from her mom. But when it come to my kids, I'm coming with the smoking gun all day, every day. And ain't a beat that I'm going to miss. If they call me, they already know what parent to call. Yeah, Hamid going to call his dad because his dad going to come too with the smoking gun. But he always makes sure he call me, and I'm running. No matter the circumstances, like, I will go through flaming fire for my kids, like, no question. You know what I mean? And that's something that I never had. And so that is something I guess you could say I've learned from growing up with my parents is that I'm always gonna be there if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows me to have breath in my body. Like, I'ma be there. Even when I was in a wheelchair, I was there. Like, you know what I'm saying? I made it my business to be present in my kids' life. Like, that's just who I am. You know what I mean? And I learned it from not having it. You know what I mean? And I still don't have it. Like I said, it's been times in my adult life that I feel like my mom could have been there way more than she was, and she wasn't. You know what I mean? And I was mad as hell at her about it. And I probably would stop speaking to her or lash out at her or argue with her. But now it's like, I take that energy and I apply it to me just being a better mother or whatever in itself. Let me see. We as mothers are held more accountable than the fathers. Well, we made a bad choice or not. And you're absolutely correct. And I said this before, is that anytime kids do something, who the first person they call? The mom. They don't never call the dad. The dad might be secondary, but when it's primarily somebody being called, is 9 times out of 10 the mother. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. And we are held at a higher standard. What's unfortunate is that at the end of the day, as moms, we're still human. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm learning about my mother. She's still human. She wasn't perfect. Am I completely over some of the things that I've been through in my childhood? No. Would I appreciate an apology? Absolutely. But am I going to get it? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I'm learning to let God and let go. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. It's nothing I could do about it. You know what I mean? And how she has learned to deal with her demons and deal with her miscomings is basically just making it seem like it never happened. I mean, that's what, you know what I mean? If that's what works for her, then that's fine. If that's what helps her sleep at night, that's cool too. But I know for me, I don't have a problem with apologizing to my kids. If I effed up, like in my last marriage and some of the things that transpired, I sat my kids down. I had a conversation with them, and I'm real, like, I ain't in denial about none of my ish. You feel me? And I tell them, like, my bad, I'm sorry, I messed up. I thought that this was a good situation. I stayed in a situation because I felt like y'all both deserved to see a man, a mom and a dad and a husband and a wife at their best. And unfortunately, it ain't work out like that. And I'm sorry that I had to put y'all through that. And I think that my daughter, she suffered the most because she was the one who didn't have the father. You know what I'm saying? And so she really did look to my husband as a fatherly figure. But at the same time, a lot of his mishaps and his shortcomings just came from what he didn't have. You know what I mean? And so I always had to remind myself of that. Like, we are who we come from. You know what I mean? And so he was who he came from. And I can't even be mad at that. But I can acknowledge that he tried. You know what I mean? It just wasn't ideal for me and what I need my kids to see and want my kids to be around. And so I had chose to leave. You know, I always told him that. I said, listen, if you and I want to just be toxic and blow up our lives and just ruin everything that we work hard for, that's cool. But what we not going to do is do all of that and be trying to raise some kids. I ain't going for that. You feel me? Like, it just can't happen. And so I'm going to set aside how I feel about you intimately and focus on with a rational mind and say, you know what? This isn't the best situation for my children. It might be okay for me. It might not even be the best situation for me, but as an adult, I could take care of myself, and I could probably stay in a relationship and try to work it out with someone or whatever because I genuinely care about them. But what I can't do is be with somebody that I genuinely care about that's not willing to be proactive in fixing his shit. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. Fixing his stuff or whatever, and still try to raise some kids. The two don't go together. It's like an oxymoron. And so I chose to leave my marriage. Do I miss my husband? Yeah, I miss him or whatever. Do I miss what we had in the beginning? Absolutely. Do I wish that we could have kept going with it? Of course. But clearly, me and him was just in two different places in our lives, and I'm going to always put my children first. I have to. Like, it's important because, again, I remember when I wasn't always put first. You feel me? And I remember how it made me feel. And I also remember how it pushed me away from both of my parents, and it caused me to hate them and dislike them. And I don't want that for my kids. Like, I don't want my kids growing up hating me, resenting me, and disliking me and feeling like I didn't do my very best or I didn't do right by them. I'm not going to give them that satisfaction. I'm just not going to do it. And so, again, that's just my way of breaking the cycle within my own family structure. Is it perfect? No, nothing is perfect except God. Is it a way that I'm learning to get accoladed to? Yes. You know what I mean? I have to. Like 12 and 15, this is like a critical age in their lives right now. I remember when I was Hamid's age, the things that I was doing. And I say alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah all the time, that he ain't doing nearly as much stuff that I was doing at 15. Oh my goodness. When I look at him and I see the type of kid that he is or whatever, I can't do nothing but thank Allah for the type of child that he is. Because truth be told, I was awful at 15. Like the stuff that I was doing, y'all can't even imagine. You feel me? Now, I will say that what kind of saved me is that at 14, I was dealing with a boy who really genuinely cared about me, who loved me. That those things like that don't happen around these times of the days or whatever. And that's what I told my mom. Why I feel like I gravitated so much to Sean and to his family is because I felt like me and him had so much in common of what we were dealing with and all the issues that we were dealing with in both of our households, is that we kind of clung to each other. And it really wasn't on no like boyfriend-girlfriend stuff. It was really a friendship. And that's why I miss him so much to this day, because I feel like the friendship that me and him had was just like, it is, you can't even put a price tag on it. Like, we were really thorough people to each other from kids. You feel me? Like, that's just something different. You know what I mean? That's something that I probably would never get back. And I can say that I almost had it with my husband. Like, him and I really were friends. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was so disheartening and difficult for me to leave him, is because we did formulate a friendship. It was a lot of stuff that me and him were experiencing together, and things that we had experienced in our childhood that was so similar, whereas though we could relate to one another, but I couldn't compete with no addiction. Like, I just couldn't. You're tuned into Confessions of a Philly Girl, your favorite Philly girl, Christina Lynn. If you're just tuning in, we are discussing toxicity and parenting. You know what, Al? Shut up. My car salesman is in here, y'all. My favorite car salesman, Al Griffin. Make sure y'all hit him up. I've been buying cars from him since like 2010, I think. So yeah, me and him have had this love-hate relationship for about 9 years now. Keisha said, but it made you who you are, and that's a strong woman. I don't regret any of my experience. I hope you do too. You know what? I'm going to say this, Keisha, and it has made me into a strong woman. There are moments where I feel like, why did I have to go through this just for me to have some sort of strength? You know what I mean? Again, you can't question God. Like, things happen for a reason. It's the cutter. Like, it is what it is, and I am no one to question it. It's just that I feel like I could have probably still been a strong person had I've been given the opportunity to kind of like somebody instill that strength in me. Why did I have to go through so much BS in my life or whatever, and experience so many hardships and so much hurt and so much trauma just to be this strong person? Why couldn't the strength just be instilled in me or whatever, and that be that? Why did I have to go through multiple instances where I'm constantly starting over, or picking up where I left off, or cleaning up somebody's mess, or raising adults and all of that? Like, why did I have to do all of that? Why did I have to be grown at 16? And why did I have to figure out where my next meal was going to come from, or where I was going to lay my head at that night? Like, why did I have to go through all of that? Like, why did I have to deal with all of that at such a young age to be the strong woman that I am today? Because even though I'm strong and I got all this strength and I'm resilient and I'm all of this, I'm all of that, I'm still a young girl hurting. I'm still, all of that, going through all of that BS has caused me to be bitter and angry. It has caused me to lose years of my life of being unhappy, you know what I'm saying, and being miserable. You know what I mean? It's just like, why I gotta go through all of that? You know what I mean? And life is so short, and then I look up and I'm 36 or whatever, and I got so much work to do. You know what I mean? And who's to say that Allah allows me to be here a little longer to actually see me put the work in and see it all pan out? Like, why did I have to go through all of that? Why did I have to be an experiment, a test dummy? You feel me? Like, why did I have to go all through that just to be this strong person? Like, sometimes I be tired of hearing it. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I be tired. As Muslims, that's the best thing you could do, is give it to Allah. Don't block your blessings holding on to something beyond your control. Remember that Allah doesn't put anything on us that we can't handle, and you went through what you went through for a reason. Nah, you think he had some absolutely. Oh, for sure, undiagnosed mental illness. I tried to encourage him to get him some help, get us some help. He ain't want it. He wanted to aid and abet his illnesses with addiction, and that's where he lost me. Now, Chrissy, we go through so much of the same things in regards to relationships. I just had to leave a 3-year relationship because I couldn't take the alcoholism, the immaturity, and all the drama that came with it, especially seeing how it was not just starting to affect me emotionally, but my 10-year-old, and the fact that I'm pregnant now. I just had to let it go. I don't want to be a part of the dysfunction anymore, and the law, me and my kids, to be affected by it. I make heavy dua that it doesn't have residual effects on my 10-year-old, and that's all you can do. Why they can sit in now, same here, connection was there, but when kids and addiction mix, it deadly, and one has to choose. Exactly. And I chose to put my kids first. Like you said, the mind is strong, but the soul is weak. Right. Life experiences just make you strong and help you teach your kids and others how to deal with it. So said the mental illness runs deep in our community. People are in denial. And that's the problem. People are so in denial. And you know what? It's times where people might not even be in denial about their mental illness, but then use the mental illness as a crutch, or use it as a defense against all the BS that they do to people and say to people. Like, Nizzo, yeah, you acknowledge you got a mental illness. You dealing with your mental illness. You might be actively seeking therapy or taking medication for your mental illness. Okay, so now when does the change start? When do you start effectively applying them coping skills and learning how to not only accept your BS that you have done to people, but be apologetic and how you reciprocate, you know, how you treat people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my whole thing with the whole mental illness field. Yeah, it's something that is not talked about. It's a lot of it that's not acknowledged or whatever. A lot of people try to brush it under the rug or whatever the case may be, but there are a lot of people who are actively dealing with their mental illness but aren't really, like, actively dealing with their mental illness and how they treat people and acknowledging they ish. You feel me? Like, that's important. Like, you gotta acknowledge your stuff. Like, you can't just say, oh, I have a mental illness and this is why I did what I did. No, I got a mental illness. I'm actively dealing with it, and a part of dealing with it is me being a better person. The end. What's so wrong with that? You feel me? Like, come on, man. You can't keep treating people and using your mental illness as a crutch. Like, you using it as a form of why you do people the way you do them, or you not acknowledging your skeletons and all of that. Like, because we all got them. You know what I mean? Some of us are brave enough to acknowledge them. Some of us are not. That's between you and your Lord. You feel me? I ain't mad at you, but at the same time, I'm going to speak my truth. And if you are part of the story along the way or whatever, I hope you don't get offended. But I'm going to keep it a being about how it really went down. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat just to save nobody's feelings. Like, I'm tired of it. And that's another reason why I feel like people in our community don't speak up on stuff, because they're afraid of how people will receive them. I really don't care how y'all receive me. You feel me? I feel like what's important to me is getting the word out, getting the message out. Have I always been the most ideal person to people and to my kids? No. Have I apologized? Absolutely. Now, the other part to it is you can accept it or you cannot. That's cool too. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm still going to do what I had to do for my kids across the board as long as I'm able to do so. But all right, y'all, I got to wrap up. I'm going to read these last bit of comments, and I got like a minute. Yes, but the problem is the relatives and people aren't even a duty to call people out on it and get them help if you're just as guilty to any harm that's done in the process because you allowed it to happen. People don't want to get the help. Can 302 kids are involved, call DHS. We have more obligations as citizens. They may not even know they're ill. They don't communicate, but they were to seek help. I'm sure their actions are related to some childhood trauma. Absolutely. That's the whole thing. They don't understand their actions. And that's true too, I guess. But I'm always going to be the one to remind you. But alright, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all were tuned in. Confessions of a Philly Girl. Listen. August 25th, I am hosting my first event brought to you by Natalie the Business Doctor. You could go on my Instagram and see Confessions of a Philly Girl and see the flyer. Go to her link, buy your ticket. August 25th, I believe that's next Sunday. Come out, show some love. It's called Girls Talk, and we're talking about all different things with the body and things like that. I will be launching my self-care campaign that's coming up. I'm trying to link up with some really great people so we can have conversations about health and things like that, taking care of our bodies and et cetera, et cetera. Nothing but love. Keep doing your thing. Thanks, Al. And so, again, Confessions of a Philly Girl. I appreciate all the comments, all the love, all the viewers. Again, if you don't already have the Mixler app, you can download Mixler. You can always go on my website, confessionsofaphillygirl.com, to watch my pre-recorded shows. YouTube. I'm getting there, y'all. I'm still working out the kinks with Spreaker and SoundCloud. With getting my shows up on there. But thanks for tuning in, y'all. Peace.